If you are applying for permanent residency in Canada, you no longer require an upfront medical exam. Stay tuned as we will throw some more light on this new update. Hello and welcome to My Consultant, where we give you weekly updates about Canada immigration. We are starting today's episode with rallies held across Canada by pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis, followed by the latest express entry draw for French speakers, and the extension of temporary measures to support Turkish and Syrian temporary residents. Next, I will share the latest changes announced by IRCC regarding the upfront medical examination requirement, and Tashina will discuss Canada's consideration of implementing virtual citizenship ceremonies. This episode of My Consultant is brought to you by Scotiabank.
Thousands gathered across Canada in support of the citizens of Israel and Palestine this past Thanksgiving Monday. As those on Canadian soil rallied in support of either nation, the federal government of Canada is right behind them, rallying to get stirring the Canadians back home. As of the day this episode was filmed, the Foreign Affairs Minister said on Tuesday that Canada is planning to assist Canadians departing from Tel Aviv in the coming days using aircraft from the Canadian Armed Forces, stating the Canadian government will be offering these flights to Canadian citizens, their spouses, and their children, as well as Canadian permanent residents, their spouses, and their children. Plus, we are also working on additional options for those who cannot reach the airport in Tel Aviv. Canadian travelers in Israel told CTV News that so far they have been unable to find a way home amid airline cancellations and challenges receiving assistance from the embassy despite counselor capacity increasing. There are currently 3,234 Canadians registered in Israel and 478 Canadians in Gaza and in the West Bank. The government is encouraging Canadians in the region who have not yet registered to do so as soon as they can, to allow embassy officials to share information in regards to upcoming flights directly with them.
IRCC has recently held category-based express entry draw for French speakers. Canada invited 500 candidates with French language proficiency in a recent express entry draw held on September 27, 2023, with a minimum comprehensive ranking system, that is CRS score of 472. This draw targeted candidates with French language expertise and who attained a minimum score of 7 in 4 language abilities, which is writing, speaking, listening, and reading.
Measures introduced by the Canadian government in February of this year in support of the Turkish and Syrian temporary residents has now been extended. Following the devastating earthquakes that hit Syria and Turkey in February 2023, the Government of Canada introduced measures in support of the Turkish and Syrian temporary residents in Canada who were unable to return home due to the destruction in the region. The extended measures allow Turkish and Syrian nationals in Canada with a valid temporary resident status to continue to work, study, and visit family by applying for an extension of their status. They can also move between temporary streams and benefit from an open work permit. Lastly, the measures do provide support for Canadian citizens and permanent residents from Syria and Turkey who are impacted by the earthquakes and who wish to come home back to Canada.
Great news for express entry candidates. As of October 1st, 2023, you no longer need to get an upfront medical examination before you submit your application for permanent residency through express entry. IRCC has made some important changes to the immigration medical exam requirement for express entry applicants on the October 1st, 2023. As per these new changes, IRCC will no longer require express entry applicants and their family members to get an upfront medical examination at the time of submitting their permanent residency application. Earlier, candidates and their family members were asked to submit the proof of upfront medical examination in their profile builder while submitting their application after they have received their invitation to apply. But this is no longer required. Immigration Medical Exam stands for IME. If you are applying for permanent residency, you must have an IME. Your family members must also have a medical exam, even if they are not accompanying you to Canada. Your own doctor cannot do the medical exam. Instead, you must see a doctor on the list of panel physicians, which are the physicians approved by IRCC. IRCC will not approve a permanent residency application if your health is in danger to Canada's public health or safety, or if it would cause too much demand on health or social services in Canada. As per the new changes, if you have previously completed an IME as part of your another application, then you can include it in your current application using the same upload slot. Applicants must include the IME or UMI number from their most recent medical examination. Or, if you have never completed an immigration medical exam, you can upload a blank document in the same upload slot. Furthermore, IRCC will send you instructions on when to complete your medical exam if they need it. Previously, IRCC made it mandatory for express entry candidates to submit their upfront medical examination in July 2022. But now this has been reversed.
Doing your citizenship ceremony in public, in front of all of your friends, and with people that are becoming new Canadians is a moment to remember in people's lives. But I've been asked to take this department to the 21st century. This statement comes from Immigration Minister Mark Miller, sharing his views as the Government of Canada weighs its options transitioning to virtual citizenship ceremonies after a petition was signed by more than 1,500 Canadians calling on Ottawa to end its long-standing required tradition. Empathizing, the Immigration Minister said, "We need options that are flexible, especially in rural regions. And we've certainly heard from rural colleagues and from people that do not want to move 100 or 200 kilometers to do an in-person citizenship ceremony." As mentioned in previous episodes, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, the IRCC, started holding virtual ceremonies during the COVID-19 pandemic to combat the rising backlog and public health measures like social distancing. The department says the virtual citizenship ceremonies have taken off in popularity, with less than 10% of new Canadians opting for in-person ceremonies in the last 6 months of 2022. As the momentum for virtual ceremonies has grown, so has the opposition for this futuristic option. A former Director General at the IRCC defends in a petition to Parliament, saying, "Citizenship ceremonies mark the end of an often lengthy and difficult immigration journey and provide a unique celebratory moment for new and existing Canadians." In August, the IRCC said it had reduced its citizenship backlog by 21%. That's all for this week's episode of My Consultant. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to click the bell icon to subscribe to get notified for our latest episodes and posts. For more information on topics covered in this week's episode, please visit us at myconsultant.ca, where you can contact an authorized immigration and citizenship consultant. I'm Tashina Thompson.
I am Tina Batra, and we'll see you next week.